Okay, Bismillah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So today I'll be doing an IT presentation with the theme of color grading, and this is basically the topic we're gonna talk about today. We're gonna talk quite deep, well, not really too deep, but just enough for you to understand what we're talking about. Please. So first, we will talk about what is color grading, because we have to know what the basics are before we start on doing something, just like tasks and other stuff. So first, color grading is basically like a technique to change or make the colors of a picture or a video seem more visible to enhance the mood, the saturation, contrast, and the vibes. For example, if you want to make a picture like friendly or like, for example, anime style, you can adjust a few things of the picture to make it more visible and to make it more relatable to the context of the thing that you're editing. So now we're gonna move on how, because we have, maybe we learn about the theory, but we need to also practice. So this is basically the lighter step-by-step way of doing the color grading. So there's actually a lot more than just these, but I'm just gonna say some because I'm not here to do a seminar, I'm here to present. So you can adjust, like, you can add filters, like, for example, it could be a brightness filter, it could be a warmth or cold filter, like adjusting the temperature, and also lowering the contrast and adding effects, like making it darker on the edge or making it more clear by lowering some points on the picture. And as I said before, these are just some examples, because there's actually a lot more that you can explore by yourself. And now, what do we need? Yeah, because as you know, there's a lot of tools that you can do this with. And the simplest one and the most recognizable one is by far with the phone, with the Photos app in your phone. So if you have like a phone and you look on the default photos, so not like Google Photos or other photos, basically just the one from your OS, you can see that sometimes there are tools to edit the photo. Sometimes you can just edit it, and sometimes you have other tools like AI to delete some stuff. But on most phones, it's just usable for basic color grading, so you can kind of adjust the temperature, colors, etc. And that is the easiest way to do it, because there's another way of doing it, but it's more complex and it needs a lot of practice and time. So by far, this is the easiest way that you can do. And we're gonna move on to the next. Well, so as I mentioned before, that was the easiest way to do it. But now I'm gonna break down on what did I personally use to create the color grading. And by the way, if you haven't noticed, sometimes the background changes color a bit when moving to another slide. So personally, I use the camera app, of course, to take the pictures. Of course, I wouldn't do it with my laptop to, take photos. And also, I use a software. Well, it's more of a website, but basically, it's also usable for color grading, and it's called Photopea. And to do this, basically I just had to put on the picture in a size that I wanted. For example, it could be 9 by 16 or 1 by 1 depending on the picture, but most of them are vertical, so usually I just use the 16 by 9. And with Photovia you can actually do a lot more things, but here we just adjust the saturation, the contrast, and sometimes the temperature and a few effects to erase some things that are not needed, because the disadvantage with most of the basic tools is that you can't really use it to erase out a picture. So for example, if you want the background to be bright but you want the character or the person to still be the same color, you can't do that with the basic tool or the basic app in your phone, but you can do that with tools like Photopea. So you can kind of erase the background or adjust the area that you want to have the enhancement and the one that you don't want to have the color grading. And now we have the difficulty of this thing, because as I said before, it is complex. But if you ask me, is it hard? Well, as in the concept, it isn't really hard, because you can do it on your phone default app, as I told before. So sometimes if you want to just try out the basic, you can just go open your phone, or maybe sometimes Google Photos also has it, but the phone default app is usually easier. So you can kind of click on edit. They're usually at the bottom at most of the 5 or 3 buttons on below the picture, and there you can adjust like the colors, the sharpness, the effects, and also the temperature contrast to make the photo more clear, or maybe make it like as if it was sad or something like that. But to be honest, overly this is quite easy, because you can again do it on your phone, and it's just basically moving around like a bar. You can move the bar here to make it higher or lower, and sometimes there are some that goes up and down, but most of them is go left and right. These are the example that I did. This is the result example here. So here, basically this one, I made the sky and the floor more colored. So as you can see here, this is the not so raw picture. This is basically the first version that I directly took with my phone, and with this I changed it to be more cinematic and warmer by adjusting. As you can see here, the difference is this one is lighter and this one is much more darker, so like golden brown. And for the sky, it's not really visible from here, but if you see here on the this part of the sky, it is much more greener than this one, which is much more blue. And this one is a lot clearer and it captures more detail of the picture. Okay, so I guess that's all for this presentation of mine, and I hope at least this could help you discover, or maybe help you with the basic color grading, or to give you a basic understanding. And that's all from me. The last I'll say is wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.